everybody. Coach Claybanks here, and welcome to a special episode of the Performance Zone right here on PZTV. I want to welcome you from wherever you're watching, whether it's live right now at time of broadcast, or if you're looking at this at some time in the future. Either way, welcome and thanks for being here. The parrot's speaking. Performance Zone TV is brought to you by ClaybankStudio.com, and it has been brought to you lately by the 1 Minute Monologue Micro Film Festival and Contest. We're doing a special episode. These episodes are usually shown bi-weekly, or for all you there down under, the fortnight. And we're bringing you this one because we just finished up LA's 13th annual 1 Minute Monologue Microfilm Festival. And with me in studio today, and one of the reasons why we're a little bit behind is because we were trying to stack 50 pounds of taters in a 5-pound sack. We have a full studio of the top winners of this year's competition. So I want to just welcome all you guys, and we're going to a wide shot and introduce our viewing audience to you guys and let them see you, and we're going to say hi, and we're going to meet each and every one of you guys right now. So in no particular order, only because the stage picture looks so beautiful, we'll just start in the back corner. Just say hi to everybody and introduce yourself. Tell us who you are.
Hi there, I'm Celine Brusley, and I've been with the studio for about 2.5 years now. And this is my third monologue contest, I believe. And yeah, I'm from Germany, and now I'm here.
And your monologue was called?
Sally.
Sally, and you placed in the top 10.
The character was Sally, and it was Beyond the Actor's Wall.
Beyond the Actor's Wall, and you played the character Sally.
Exactly.
Great, and congrats for making it into the top 10. Okay, Brooke?
Hey everyone, Brooke Curtis here. Happy to be here. It's my first annual monologue contest, and I feel so honored and grateful to be among these talented people.
Okay, and your monologue was?
I did a piece where I was a queen, and it was called Take 'Em Away.
And placed in the top 10 would Take 'Em Away.
Sure
Congratulations on that.
Thank
Right
you.
in the middle, in the middle of all these lovelies.
I'm lucky. I'm a lucky man. My name is Laith Walschlager. This is my first monologue contest, and I got lucky enough to make it into the top 10. So very happy to be here. It was a lot of fun doing it, shooting it, screening it. And yeah, now we're talking about it.
And your piece was called?
Gone but not forgotten.
Gone but not forgotten. Excellent. And Amanda.
Hi, my name is Amanda Sackett, and this is my second monologue competition. And my monologue was titled There's Still Hope.
There's Still Hope.
Yes.
All right. Made it in the top 10 with There Is Still Hope. Good job, Amanda.
Yes.
Allie.
Hi, I'm Allie Lovelace. This is also my first monologue contest, film micro festival. And the name of my piece was Dancing the Pain Away.
Dancing the Pain Away. Yes. And Allie, for those of you that have been tracking and playing along at home, Allie was placed in the top 10. There was a computer glitch that was caught.
We caught it.
We caught them all. We caught all of them. And there was only, I think, one or two. It was pretty, one? Just, no? Yeah. Okay. And we caught you. So you're here. Congrats. We didn't let you go.
Happy to be here.
Great. And Lauren?
Hi, Lauren Schofer. I was trying to count contests, but I'm not going to beat you. But I've done like 5 now, I feel like. And I'm also on the producing end. So if any of you participated, you probably got emails from Lauren. Hi, that's me. And my monologues were unfinished, and it wasn't unfinished. That was the title. It was unfinished. And the other one was titled Cold Feet. Cold Feet.
So you put in 2.
I put in 2, and
Yes.
2 made it into the
And
top
2 made it
10.
into top 10.
Yeah.
So we need your doppelganger sitting behind you to
Yeah.
represent both monologues.
Just
Fair.
stare at me cross-eyed.
Well done.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, great. And
Hi, Colin Sutton. This is my 10th or 11th, I believe.
he's a lot older than he looks.
Yeah, exactly. Grabs here. And I had the piece Hans Stiel.
Yes, you did. Hans Still.
Who's Hans?
Very nice. Okay, great. And
Oh, hi, I'm Jackie Ball. This is my first year participating in LA's 1 Minute Micro Monologue Film Festival. And my
see, we strategically placed you
yeah, right there,
to
throw it in
represent.
there. And my piece was Aftermath. It was an article from Humans of New York that I adapted into a monologue.
Yes, and made it into the top 10.
I made it into the top 10.
Congrats. And George.
My name's George Triplett.
This is my second monologue contest, and I ended up in top 10 this time with stopping power. Played a mechanic.
Yeah. Terrific. Stopping power. Yes, not a serious drama.
No.
But I guess it could be, actually, when you look at it.
Yeah, you're the participants.
And last but definitely not least.
Hi, I'm Lori Rivas. My piece was In Conclusion. It's just me quitting my job. Yes, for real. And this was my second year in the monologue contest, and I'm nervous because I'm usually behind the camera, but I'm here this time, so I'm nervous.
So guys, you're meeting the top 10. There is one more that wasn't able to get away, and that is Leanne Huffman, who also placed in the top 10 with a piece called.
Oh, I
Do we
will
know?
find out.
Oh, we'll find out. Okay, Leanne, she's there. Now, here's the deal. If you go to the #1minutemonologue.com, the digit, 1minutemonologue.com, you can see these amazing people with all of their performances right there at the click of your mouse. And also all of the contest qualifiers, because we only took 60, I think, this year. Every year we change the number, and that's for the judges and their time and their consideration. This year we took 60. There were more than that, and all of them are up there that you can take a look at and just cruise around. And the cool thing is, none of them are longer than 90 seconds. So you can really get through a whole bunch of them. So what's really cool also with you guys placing in the top 10, the contest has split left.
Swipe left.
Oh, swipe left. She's a bumbler. Okay.
Swipe left.
Next year she'll do swipe right. Swipe right. Hopefully, maybe she'll get a swipe right. But in the contest, also the top 10. You guys representing the top 10. We also had best written piece. We had best character piece. Then we had the top 3 and the overall winner. So we're going to start breaking those down as we kind of mix it up and open up the dialogue here a little bit more. So I'm going to pass the microphone around as we get a little bit more particular on some of these questions, and you guys can just play hot mic and let it slide around. So what I want to do is just start with the writers contest and talk about that just a little bit. Anybody can participate in the writers contest. You just have to meet the qualifications that are on the website. You can check that out, and we've had many submissions over the years. And this year, we have the winner of the writers contest, who was also in the top 10, and that's George Triplett here. So I'm going to pass the mic down to George. Congratulations once again, George, for winning the writers contest.
Thank you.
Tell us a little bit about the evolution of that and how you conceptualized it and wound up actually with the finished product.
I started off with, can I say the name of the original movie it came from?
Sure.
Tommy Boy.
Yeah.
With Chris Farley. And I started off doing the monologue pretty much exactly like Chris did it. And then we decided that that was not me, that was written for Chris, to do that the way that he did it. So we decided to.
And how did we decide this?
Coach told me to change it.
Okay.
So we changed a lot of the wording, like over 70% of the wording, and made it to a character that I could perform that was in my wheelhouse. And because of that, it evolved into what it was. We probably rewrote that thing 15 times. Just, one little thing wouldn't work, so we'd have to go back in and try to rewrite it again to where it finally got to a point where it would just flow. And we made it work with something that I could do.
So you took something you saw that you were connected to, in this case, Farley's performance, and you went, oh, I want to do that. And then just started attacking it and personalizing it and making it your own.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And I originally picked it because it was outside of my wheelhouse. I wanted to stretch and see if I could do something that had a lot more energy than what I usually come around with. So, and it had to do with brakes, and I understand a lot about how brakes work because I was a mechanic.
What's the piece about?
About using the wrong brake pads. If you use a low quality brake pads and you're heading for a cliff, you can't stop.
So you better buy your brake pads.
Yes,
is that
you better
it?
buy my brake pads that'll make you stop when the truck tire rolls out in front of you.
Terrific. Awesome. Who else wrote their piece? Just a quick show of hands. Okay, Lori, just pass the mic to Lori. Tell us a little bit about that.
It was quite personal for me because, like I said, I did quit my job. So I was scared that I was going to say too much, or that I wasn't going to say enough, or that I wasn't going to get the point across, and other than saying, I quit. And I wanted to make sure that there was
more meat to it. And I remember attending the monologue contest workshop that Coach Banks holds here, and that's exactly where I was able to like rip the piece apart and build it and actually, you know, add the meat and the juices that it needed to actually be a good chunky sandwich of a monologue. So and I was again worried that I was gonna, you know, say too much for a person who was quitting their job. I didn't want to like, you know, disrespect myself in it. I don't care about them, but you know, more who I am, and you know, belittle myself, you know. So I wanted to stand tall, stand powerful. And when I shot it, one of the times I cried, and I was like, me cry when I quit my job? That's not me. So I shot it more where I was more, you know, kind of like I'm a boss, you know, rather than you know, yeah. So
you basically you workshopped it and you tooled it and just kept working the bugs out until you got it where you wanted it to be.
It was definitely important, because the first time I wrote it, it was more just like this angry girl just trying to
a rant.
There was a lot of cursing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know, I remember Coach mentioning it's not about the cursing. You know, sometimes nobody wants to hear that. It's more about the intent of how you're saying it, and that's where I was like, okay, back to the drawing board. And you know,
very cool. Now, on the other hand, I understand that one of these was written in between planes in a terminal of an airport. Is that correct, Amanda?
Yes.
Why don't you hand that mic over? Well, tell us how your piece came fruition.
Well, it was inspired by several of my friends hearing their dating stories. Yeah, so I just saw
You mean
this.
swipe left, swipe right?
Well, that was included. No, I just saw this hilarious scene of a very overwhelming girl, you know, who's 39, trying to get married, trying to have a baby before she's 40. And just being very, like, not giving the guy any time to talk. It doesn't even matter who he is or what his name is. She totally forgets because she wants him to know everything about her and how she has everything in order. Yeah. So it was just hilarious to me.
And it came to you while you were waiting for a plane, right?
Yeah.
And did you
wrote it
rework
really
it, or was
quickly.
it a one out of the gates?
I changed a few words and then worked it in one class, and that was it. And we filmed it.
Yeah, the next guest is coming in. If you hear him,
Yeah.
the chopper,
Get
right?
to the
It's like-
chopper.
It's like, all right, who else constructed their own, and where did it come from? Did you talk about that?
Yeah, so I guess technically didn't write it, but I adapted it. It was originally an article from Humans of New York, and it was much longer and had a lot more information about this woman and her story. It's a woman talking about her brother who came back from the war, had PTSD, and ended up committing suicide or dying from suicide, and her realization that they knew that he was suicidal and that he had said that he was, and they didn't really do anything to help him in her eyes. So it was interesting kind of taking that as just an interview between, you know, a subject and an interviewer, and saying, well, how can I make this connected in a monologue to feel like it's a part of the greater world, and how would this be in a movie, and what did just happen? And so figuring out who is she talking to now, since the original idea of it all was just with a reporter. So changed up the location, changed up, she's just finding out the information instead of her having time to have gone through it all and process it all. So it's her just coming to the realization of what happened. So that was,
and you shaped and molded until you got it where you wanted it.
yeah,
to be.
absolutely. And there's still, I mean, like I said, I probably, when you look at the whole thing, used maybe 20% of the whole story she told, but that's what I needed for that moment.
Yeah, you know, on that, I just had a private one-on-one earlier today, a decompression session. For those of you guys that did it, there's decompression sessions. They're really powerful, and they're really discounted because it really helps you out a lot. And I looked at the piece, and we go through it, and we start just analyzing and breaking it down. Now, he's not a student. And so it's always cool because it's like, I just like, look, here's what I'm doing. I'm just going to give you the blow by blow as this goes. I play 4 seconds into it, and I say, I have no idea what's going on. I said, I don't know who you are. I don't know where you are. I don't know what's happening. He goes, that's because I had to edit it. And I said, what exactly did you edit? He goes, well, it was coming in too long, so I had it to come in 90 seconds, which you do. And I said, well, what lines did you edit? He goes, could I have a glass of wine? I said, well, that would have helped establish that you were talking to a bartender. I mean, we have no idea you're talking to a bartender, you know? So it's important where you're actually making these edits. And so that's why we award, you know, not just us, but there are awards for these kind of things, because it's important to know how to shape that piece so that it does actually stand alone. And that's the important thing. Is it going to stand alone? And we just had a whole slew of Australian actors in here. Well, a small slew actually this time. And they came in to do a master's program. They're here in town doing it right now. And they started off in this class with one of my sessions. And I asked them to do monologues. And same case, the monologues are being pulled from other things. And that's fine if you know the whole play. That's fine if you know the whole story. But if you don't, you got to get that piece to work on its own. And I know I'm talking more for the watching audience as opposed to you guys, because you obviously know that. And we got to take them on that story in that 60 to 90 seconds. Colin.
It was improv. And it started as something I had improv together that was 3.5 minutes. And I thought, all right, I can edit it, but there was no way to do that. So I then decided to reshoot the key points that I wanted and get it into a minute. So I was shooting it myself. And I took a bunch of takes and then got back to editing and realized that they were all too long. So I was like, So I edited some more and went back, tweaked a few things with the help of my wife. And then we got it down to the time without losing the integrity. There were certain moments I knew I needed in there and that I wanted in there. And so got it to a point where I was like, all right, I like this. Sent it away.
Yeah, from a lot of improvisational work, being able to just jump in front of that camera and just create that whole moment.
Yeah. I mean, Hans has been with me since I think 2005.
The camera issue.
Yeah, exactly, in here. And so just been working him for off and on for that many years.
You know, it's interesting where these things come from. You have frustrations at work, you're using part of your job. It's where we get all these. In Colin's case, Colin's, when did you come into the studio? 2002 or 3 or something? 2002.
Yeah.
Came into the studio in 2002. And he got really frustrated about some of the people that were operating the cameras. We do an on-camera process, and we put our students on the cameras to shoot other students because we use 2 cameras. And you had gotten frustrated, and I'll let you pick it up, but you went off and grabbed another actor, Rick Crawford, and you went, let's just do the, and I don't know what happened, he can fill it in, but he just came back to me his day of class, and he went, can I talk to the student body? I said, yeah, go ahead. And then he and Ricky had this thing, and they were these German instructors on how to operate the cameras. What happened with that?
It was just frustration because people would be watching, and then you're watching your tape after and you're trying to glean, and then all of a sudden they're just like slowly drifting off camera, and you're like, oh,
we need them back.
Yeah, exactly, and you're like, no, and so I was just frustrated. So we just came in, and that was the birth of Hans, and then I don't know, I pulled him out different years, and so, and for the monologue contest, I've always kind of led to dramatic or just completely offbeat. And so I think this was the first year I did comedy, and so it was, yeah.
And Colin said, I said, because he's my boy, he's been around, he's like veteran. And I said, come on, Colin, throw something in. What the heck, just throw in. He goes, if I got time, I'll throw one in, I mean, he's done what, 11 of these things. So I look at it because we had the videos in, and I'm looking at this, and I'm like, what's he doing? This is crazy. What's he doing? And then as I'm in it, I'm laughing. And so I call him and I say, Colin, what's up with that? He goes, Coach, all I wanted to do this year, I just wanted to make people laugh. Yeah. And so what's really cool now, anybody that's seen it, all you have to do is just go Hans, and you're going to start smiling. So it worked. Well done.
Thank you.
You betcha. And we're going to bring him back as a recurring. Lauren. Yeah, you've actually won the contest before, haven't you? The writers contest. Did you win? Have you won?
No,
You
no.
haven't won?
Last year, Lori won the writers.
You won
contest.
last year in the writers
Yeah.
contest. Oh, okay, okay.
We got a bunch of winners in here.
Come on.
Yeah. No, so this year I wrote 2 pieces, and one of them came out of, I was workshopping or just reading some pieces that I had pulled in class as options, because that's what we do here in the studio. We pull some options and then we read them out loud and find what's going to best fit us in the good launching starting point kind of way. And I had pulled one from Friends and one from another sitcom and read them out loud, and Coach said, put those down. And so I put them down, and he said, just speak from the heart. What frustrates you? And so I did, and I talked for like 2 or 3 minutes, and it was tearful and uncomfortable. But then I took that 3-minute monologue, which was completely unrelated to the finished monologue, but I took it home and I reworked it and then packaged it. And so I had to think about how to take these frustrations and put it into a story, like make it a story and not just make it me venting about something totally unrelated. And so it was the same thing with my second monologue, my comedic monologue. I had this very vivid dream one night, and it was, to me, a very kind of funny, silly dream. And I was like, I need to tell people about this dream. But the thing about a monologue, when you're telling a story about something that's happened in the past, it's not very engaging. So you have to figure out how to package it. And you have to figure out how to make this story interesting and engaging in the now. And so I was like, with that one, I was like, okay, I'm going to package the story of this dream within the fact that it's a runaway bride talking to her father. And that makes it very high stakes, and it makes it very dynamic and interesting. And then I get to slip in this little story about this vivid dream that I actually had in real life. Same thing with the frustrating monologue with my frustrations. I took it and I wrote this character of a woman who is married and pregnant, but doesn't really want to be pregnant because she's frustrated with her own life and where she's at in life, and knowing that kids are going to change it drastically. And so that's not me or who I really am. Like, I'm not pregnant, but like that's what made the package of the story of the frustrations work. So I feel like you can really go anywhere and take anything from your life, and as long as you take it and then you package it in a story, it'll work. I think people make the mistake of thinking that like there's something interesting going on in their life, or there's a fun story or something like that, and that they can just turn that into a monologue. When you really got to think about more. You got to think about the full story arc. You got to think about who you're talking to and why it's important to be saying this right now, and all those other things.
On that note, for those of you guys that are watching that do write or tinker around or want to write your own monologue, because of these frustrations that have happened over the years of me just going student after student, did you write that? Yeah, how'd you know? It's not a monologue. Did you write that? Yeah, how'd you know? It's not a monologue. Years of that, I went, I just wrote up a 2-sheet, basically, just a 2-sheet. It's called Self-Written Monologues. And it's on our website, claybankstudio.com, on the resources, and it's called Self-Written Monologues. It's just a 2-sheet, and it'll tell you the things to watch out for, to stay away from, and the things to hone in on, like Lauren is talking about here, just as a guideline to help you not fall into these trappings of a piece being just a personal experience and not really a story that you're telling in a story fashion. So excellent, awesome. Let's jump to the other side. Celine, why don't you grab this microphone? Let's hear, what was the evolution of your piece? Tell us a little bit about that.
All right. So, well, I brought in a lot of pieces to the studio, and I was showing you. I was back home in Germany for a month, and I was looking for pieces the whole time, and I was emailing Coach, look at this, how about this? And it was just, I just couldn't find anything that I really connected to. So I came back, and Coach was like, "You still doing the monologue?" And I was like, "Yep, still looking for a piece." And he told me about Barry, the series. So I watched a few episodes, and then I watched Sally's monologue. And I was just like, this is me. This is what I feel like in real life. Because I sometimes, you go to auditions and things happen and you get frustrated, and it's like, what am I doing wrong? And it's just that in a monologue. And it was great for me to do, because I wanted to explore more of my comedic side and more maybe what I can do with, different props, different things that we've played around with. Like at first, I just took a little piece of the whole monologue. It's like 3.5 minutes long, and I just took a little piece, and I was like, this is what I connect to most, and I took that out. I rewrote a couple of things that just didn't like really connect to me. We did that too. We workshopped it. I was in a private here, and we shot it, and the situation changed a few times. Like at the beginning, I was talking to my friend, and then we put her on the phone, and then the carrots came into the game, which is like just a curious little thing that made the whole thing funnier because she's so frustrated and she's just cutting these carrots, and it's just the whole evolution of the whole thing. It's just, the process. And we all got to do that. We have to go through the process in order to find something that really, and now I feel like I have a great monologue that I can take out to any audition, and it's a good fit for me, very comedic. And even if I don't have the carrots, like you can still do something that's, frantic and just talk about that thing that you really connect to. I feel like that's the most important thing with a monologue.
That's awesome, because it's not uncommon in a film and TV town for actors to say, what do I need a monologue for? What do I need? And I mean, you're answering the question right there. It's like, why would you not want to do this work? I mean, this is the creative process. The biggest issue for you is that you do so many pieces and you have so many monologues. It's like, oh, well, what do I want to showcase? And really what you need to do is just go, this time I'm grabbing this one and I'm workshopping this one. This is the child of the moment that I'm going to develop. And then you move on to the next thing and you do another one, and you move on to the next thing and you do another one. It's like, what is so scary about that? That's crazy. What else are we doing with our time? And as a result, you discover all these wonderful things, and then you have these pieces, and you're in the top 10, and you're being talked to in this crazy studio. Brooke, how about yourself? That was very Victorian-esque, big period piece type of thing there.
Yes, it was. First of all, thank you to everyone watching at home. We appreciate you being here with us. I wanted something specifically for my reel that could show that I could be cast in something like Game of Thrones or a period piece drama. So I took a little bit of a different approach to my monologue, and actually had a professional writer write it for me. Shout out to Robert Taylor. And I hired a crew of my very talented friends, and we shot it guerrilla style in the lobby of my building in the middle of the night in front of a giant fireplace.
I thought you were outside of a castle.
Yeah, that's my apartment building. So we had people like coming and drunk from the bars in the middle of the night. I'm standing there in a gown with a tiara on, like, hey, nothing to see here. Just keep on going. So it was a lot of fun, and now I have a great piece for my reel.
Awesome. Well done.
Thank you.
It was fun just opening up the way it opened up with the big score and everything.
Yeah,
it was nicely done. And you got a great piece on you for your reel. They're all great. I mean, you all do, which is really terrific.
Yeah. Fun stuff.
Leif.
Okay, so with my piece, I actually spent New Year's Eve in Times Square, which was a blast. And coming back, I did not have the diaper. I was lucky enough to not need the diaper. But yeah, there was a lot of foul smells out there. But anyway, I was flying back to LA, and I was sitting on the plane. And on Southwest, they give you the nice movies to choose from, the brand new movies. And I saw this one movie, Ad Astra, with Brad Pitt, and I was trying to find something of substance. And I thought, okay, this looks solid. This will be a good watch for the ride home. And I'm watching it, and Brad Pitt's ability to take a minimalist character and just make him larger than life and have him deal with a lot of the issues that paralleled my life. It got to the point where I was sitting on the plane, just like crying my eyes out, and the stewardess is coming up to me like, "Sir, would you like some crackers?" Yeah, please. And I just really identified with this character, so I thought, let me take a monologue from this movie and see what I could do with it, because a lot of the times I get pigeonholed into playing, you know, the douchebag or the athlete and stuff like that. So I wanted a piece that could showcase my emotional availability. So I took this and I brought it into the monologue workshop, and we worked it out. We changed some of the lines from space exploration, you know, because that's kind of weird, to, you know, something I could relate more with, my spiritual walk that I'm taking. And, you know, we just worked it out and we got it to pop, and I shot it in 2 hours and worked out.
Yeah, it certainly did work out. Yeah, you actually took another title, didn't he?
And that's now lead.
To be honest with you, I was watching all of the monologues and I thought, oh man, there ain't no way I'm making it in the top 10. So I couldn't believe it happened. So
And you took male lead.
I took
Yeah,
male lead
took male lead.
somehow, some way.
Well, you did. I mean, you did the work. You put it in, and you know, you pulled out the performance, and there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, nicely done.
Thank you.
All right, Ali.
Hello.
I have to be honest with you before you even say anything, because you're actually you're not in one of my classes, and I have until last night, but I had never worked with you. And I go, you know, I go, okay, so there's a CBSI student, there's a student. I go, oh, I don't know this person. And then yours came in, I go, oh, I don't know this person. And I was looking at the work and I was going, this work is good. This is good. And I didn't know who you were. And I had no idea you were actually in the studio. And then when we found out, I was like, oh, great. And then we didn't find out until I didn't know until there was the correction. I had no idea. Lauren's going, no, we got a correction. I said, oh yeah, that was a really good piece. Yeah. And then boom, look at that. Now you're here.
Hello.
And you were in my class last night.
I was.
I know, that was pretty cool.
Yes.
So again, officially, it's great having you.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here. It was a cool piece. It was actually a piece that was for an audition that I just really loved. There's been like a handful of times that I get material and I'm like, I love this. I just connected with it and I just kept it and ended up filming it for this. It was super last minute. I was like, hadn't showered in days. It was like, put the hair up, do the thing, get it in by the deadline. And because I just connected with it so well, it worked for me. I just was able to get there where I needed to be.
Yeah, and it did. And how'd you shoot it? You just at your place?
I have a self-tape situation in my office, kind of living room situation with a sheet. You know, you have a sheet on the wall, and you have your 3 lights, and I filmed it on my phone.
You know, that's what's really great about this is some of these you guys did production value. You paid for crews, you set it up, and it's great, and it's some really really good looking stuff. And then others of you just threw the camera up and you went for it, because when it's good, it's good. And we had a lot of full-blown production pieces that didn't make it into the top 10, so you can't actually buy it. It's always going to be in the performance, you know, and I think that's what's really cool. Now, if you got really good sound, obviously it's more enjoyable for the audience to watch, and it does kind of impact some dynamics of it with the lighting and whatnot. And as long as you're kind of sending in a decent job, if your performance is there, and not just for the monologue fest, but for the self-tapes. You know?
Yeah, I got a little lapel mic, you know, it's hidden, plugs into your phone. It like completely changes the game with that.
Yeah, really cool. So we had the male lead. We also had female lead, Lauren, and also you were the overall winner.
Yes.
Right. So that was pretty cool. How was it when you found that out?
Awkward.
Amazing.
I mean, well, it's just funny when you're also on the production team and you always wonder if the people at home are like, oh, she's shady and totally rigged that. But no, I mean, yes, I did not rig it. Thanks. No, it feels good, and it feels good because, you know, the first few years I did this, I didn't make it even into the top 25 quite a few times. And then there was that one year a few years ago where I wrote a piece based on more frustrations with other people. And I was judge's pick because I disqualified, because I was not cautious and careful of my time. And so I ran like 15 seconds over and was DQ'd, but they liked me, and so I did well in points. I just didn't qualify, and so that was frustrating. And that was like the close taste of like, okay, now I want it, you know, like now I know I can get there because they liked me, but like
now I want it. And so it's just it's nice to know that you know, when you do work and you do good work and you know it for yourself, that's one thing. And then when other people acknowledge it, there's that extra special, like, okay, I'm not delusional. that was okay. You know. So.
Yeah. So just to clarify for the folks that are watching, we have the categories we have is male lead, female lead. We have character lead, which we'll get to in a second, and then we have, of course, the overall winner of all the points, which you took both of them this year, and it's. Have we had it happen where the overall winner has that happened? I don't know if it's happened before or not, where the lead was also the overall lead. I don't know.
Well, it has to be, right? So if you're the winner of one of the three categories,
right,
that you're one of those three people is going to also be the overall winner.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
And then we have two other categories. One we didn't use this year. Two other categories are judges pick or audience favorite kind of a thing, and that's the piece that for some reason something wasn't right about it, but it still was really popular. You know, it was maybe disqualified, but it still was popular. Maybe something else was off about it, but like this year, the fella didn't make the top 10. Anthony Riggins.
Yes.
Anthony Riggins. He didn't make the top 10, but he got overall audience favorite. But he just didn't get the overall points. And then we have another category, which is most controversial monologue. This year we didn't have it. Usually what happens during the screening with the judges, some piece stirs up a whole heap of either issues or conversations or arguments or problems or whatever it is. It's that piece that you go, ooh, oh, okay, this is really stirring up stuff. And it doesn't win, it doesn't place, but you can honor it because it actually got attention. And this year, I think the closest one, we really didn't have the category this year, but the closest one is we had a set of twins. They were identical twins. One was, the fellow's name was John, the other fellow's name was Jonathan. And I mean, when I first met them, you're like, okay, my brain's trying to put this together right now. And they did pieces back to back. And so that was like, you know, that stirred up a little bit of conversation.
I thought it was the same guy using a different name
Right.
on each monologue. I didn't know they were twins.
There you go.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So I was like, should they go? I said, it wasn't really enough of that dynamic. That was about as close. So we really didn't have that category this year. But so that's kind of like where all that stuff comes in. Best character, Mr. Colin Sutton. Back to Hans.
Back to Hans.
As Hans, if you wouldn't mind.
Oh, this is Hans, yes. What would you like to know?
So Hans, tell us a little bit about you.
Hans comes from the inspiration of a guy named Jon Peter, who I worked with, and so he's been very useful for me. And you know, started the country, as we said, and he worked in the camera work and getting those things done. And then he has progressed to many other things, and then finally into the bodybuilding.
And I understand there's instructional videos that are coming out
Hans
soon.
is very good at the instructional videos. He's putting it out there for the world. So, you know, there's a big demand for the proper techniques and the things that we can do with ourselves. You know, the self-help world is very big. And so, you know, Hans will have more videos to show the world how to do things proper and, you know, just things all related to fitness.
In German engineering.
Yes, definitely.
So what's interesting about Colin, and you guys have probably heard me talk about this before, when an actor is discovering themselves, am I a leading lady? Am I a leading man? Am I a lead? Am I a character? Am I a support? What am I? And it's all part of the journey, and one isn't better than another. It's just part of the journey. And when Colin came in, he hadn't acted before, and he was learning the craft and everything. And of course, we were teaching him core acting, and then leading man stuff and doing lead. But then over time, we started finding that, okay, this guy Lars comes out, and then this other guy comes out, and then this other guy comes out. It's like, wait a second, we got a character actor here. And so we started working on building those traits. And I remember you had one audition, I don't know, it might have been, I think it was the Hugh Jackman film where you played a head. Was that it? Without a body or something?
That was a different film.
That was a different film.
Yeah.
Where
I had to audition as a head.
just his head.
Yeah.
No body, it was
Literally had to
disembodied
turn
head.
the chair around for the audition, put your head on, and do the entire scene just as the head.
Wow.
Because it was a guy who was carrying his head around. He was, you know, and that was a challenge. Yeah.
Yeah. So so again, for those of you guys that are watching, you know, it's like, well, I really want to be a character. You might not be a character actor. Or I really want to be a lead. You might not be a lead, you know, and you have to kind of flush it out, try different roles, take on different scenes until you start seeing, like in your case, you're going, whoa, woo, this comedy thing's really kind of hitting for you. Let's roll in that direction, see what goes on now with comedy character, and see what doors open up that way. George, you also are discovering that same kind of thing of being a little bit more of a character actor, because the past several monologues you've done where you've really gotten attention. Last year, did you come in the top 5?
I was in the top 10,
You were in
top 5, yeah.
You were in the top 5 or 10 last year?
5.
You were in the top 5, and you were playing a hitman, right?
A hitman, yeah, with more like an Eastern accent, like New York style.
What did he sound like? Where is he?
He was like, I don't know, maybe, I don't know.
He mumbled a lot.
Yeah, he mumbled a lot.
And then this year you took on the character. You played this kind of another assassin painter, I guess.
Yeah.
Was that who
with the
that guy
same
was?
character. I actually entered 2 monologues, but that one didn't make it into the top 10.
And
so
you wrote that one as well, right?
that was originally taken from one that I found online. It wasn't from a movie or anything, and we adapted that one, changed a lot of the wording and everything to show that I could paint, you know. But I use my gun. I don't use a paintbrush. I use my gun, and it splatters all over the canvas.
You heard of Pollock?
Yeah, you
right.
Roger Jackson Pollock.
Right, and then of course the mechanic, the brake man.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Make sure you get the right type of brakes.
Give us a little rip of that.
All right. If you don't get the right brakes, you're going to end up going down a cliff, and who knows what's going to happen to you. Eventually, you're going to start a fire, and everything's going to be throwing up everywhere, and it's just going to ruin everybody's life except for yours, because yours is going to be alive still, but your legs are going to be gone because the mountain lion took it off.
And then it just is a progression of worse and worse, right? So how about anyone else here playing with some characters, discovering some things about that? Yeah, go ahead. Just open it up.
I would just so the one day that I did get to workshop my monologue, I originally wrote it to be comedic, and I was in here with Jack, and he was having me, just do every situation, every angle with it. And the last way he had me run through it was actually very serious, and I nearly cried in it. And I wrote the piece, and I never even saw that angle of it, of a very real, like, desperate girl, and like, this is her last chance, and she really is laying everything out there, not how I originally did it, just so he knows everything, but almost to convince herself that she has it together, not to convince someone else. And I was just blown away. It ended up being too long for the monologue competition to do it like that, but I loved it. Like, that was very motivational.
I'd like to jump on that because I tried my monologue in different situations. I called my best friend and I just started talking and saying the monologue because I wanted to see how she reacts. And it was different, put yourself in different situations with the monologue and you will find things, and things will just pop up. And like with the carrots, we added the carrots and I was like, this could be a character, like this is in me, and I didn't really, the closest I got to character actors is on theater, on a stage, but never in film, because I am already very theatrical and I use my face a lot and just that stuff. But I don't know, it was very cool to be able to go into that direction with your support and you throwing in, this and that, and maybe try that, and to really be able to open that door, because I want to go there. I want to try more character stuff, comedy stuff, stuff I don't usually do, because I'm good with romance. I'm good with that heart, open your heart thing and crying and all that. But I want to
try something different. And Sally, got me there. So that's nice for me.
How about anybody else with a difficulty you want to share? Something that was really kind of challenging for you with the acting, with pulling off the piece? Anything? Yeah, go jump in.
Well, with my piece, we did work on it in class a lot. And I think what was challenging for me was just settling in on exactly who was I talking to? When is this moment? Since it wasn't in a play or a movie already with all those circumstances set, because since it is such an emotionally charged piece, it's like, how do I make this not feel like a performance of sadness and let it feel like an emotional journey of a human being who's realizing something? And we work on compression a lot. You work on that with me. You work with other people too, but we work on my compression a lot.
It's just you.
Yeah, it's just me. It's only me. So this, yeah. So this piece was was a great challenge for that, because it's all about having the emotions but not letting them all spill over. And that's what was really exciting about this piece, because like I worked it and I tried it. I'm talking, to the reporter. I'm talking to my lawyer. I'm talking to the press. I'm talking to the judge at the Supreme Court. This has been a year after I found out. This has been 2 months after I found out. And just really, really breaking it down and realizing that matters so much. Because every time I was guessing it, it was false. It wasn't there all the way. And as soon as I finally honed in and I was like, oh, that's it. That's the time. That's the place. And that's the person I'm talking to. And just knowing what I know and then just experiencing it. And it felt really great. It felt really, really great.
Yeah, Lauren wants to jump in here, but before she does, we've seen these kind of illustrations where there's the feet of one character, the legs of another, the torso of another, the chest of another, and then you can mix the pieces and turn characters. Well, that's kind of like what is needed when you're exploring. It's going, okay, well, here's what I just did. Well, what if I change out all these things you just said? Change out the light bulb. It might need to just be turned. Yeah, just turn the end mic. I think that'll do it. Yeah, we're having. There it is. Hello, we're back. And then you try these different. Well, who am I talking to? Changing who? Because one year we did a piece where a guy was ranting at his roommate. I've shared this with some of you before. He's just hit me again there. All right, cool. Thanks. We got a funky bulb. Yeah, there we go. Well, I'll keep talking. We got Lori's side of Lori's face, but that's okay right there. Okay, cool. We're back. And he was and it became a rant. And that's where you have to watch out that you just don't wind up getting caught up in a rant of anger or upset or crying or whatever. And it's just one note and you just stay in it. And so we're looking at this thing and I go, talk to your cat. And we turned his roommate into his cat, rearranged a little bit of the dialogue, just, obviously, just to change it around. And the piece just became hysterical. And we no longer hated him, for berating his female roommate, and now he's pissed at the cat that won't keep the litter in the box, and is always meowing all the time. And so it's just moving the pieces around until you go,
yeah,
it's like a recipe for those of us that cook. You try and explain it. There's the recipe. All right, go, Lauren.
I was going to say, you said something, and I was like, something that the judges said about yours when it happened, and yours, I think they said it about both of yours, is that you two exemplified exactly what they're looking for when it comes to difficult, tearful emotion, which is that it is there, it is not being pushed, and in fact, in reality, you're trying to hold it back. And so you found the exact recipe to activate them, and then you held them back, and that's what created so much interest and fire underneath your performance and your performance. They talked about so many people who had similar emotive performances. Just it didn't click. It wasn't right because it was being forced, and people were enjoying the fact that they were getting to that place with the tears, and I can get there and showing it. But yeah, that's the thing, right? That's the key. It's finding the recipe, and then real people don't normally, healthy people don't normally they try and hold it back.
Hand it to Lath. Now, Lath, we gotta address it with you here because your piece obviously fits right into this category.
Sure.
Yeah.
I had a very emotional piece. When we shot it, we just went to an open clearing in a park, and I sat on a stump, and we just filmed that thing. And honestly, the take that I used was the 8th take that I did. And the first 7, I was like, all right, we're crying today. We're doing this. and I was just like, all right, come on, get it. And then, we got one that I was feeling okay about. And then my buddy who was filming it was like, let's just do one more for safety. Just let it go. I was like, all right, let's let it go. And that's the one that I ended up using,
Magic.
For safety, those words.
Yeah, you don't push, you just let it go. And it clicked.
Yeah, and then you had the compression, and you bring the truth, and now you're not trying to show us something. We're actually voyeuring in on something personal.
Yeah,
and we have that experience.
exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was good.
well done. Anyone else want to share in this?
I would add on to that. Mine was it's funny because I hear my production, all right, this is gonna be the last take, right? And then it was my last take, and that was the one that I used. And there's something about that last time you're going up there, even if it's for safety, you just want to give it your all just in case one through whatever did not work, because you don't want to go back home and look through all your footage. And there was where I was in NoHo. I picked a very, very busy place to shoot. But there was this one gentleman that kept going around the corner in a Camaro. And I was like, oh, you gonna really get me. But because he was doing that, he kept revving it. I knew how long it was gonna take him to come back around.
We gotta go.
So I was
90 seconds.
I was like, I know he's at the red light by the Domino's. And I was like, he's gonna come back around. And I was like, boom. And then I revved myself up like the Camaro would. And I just delivered it with the compression, without the tears, more of just like that aggression. And at that point, I wasn't just quitting my job. I was quitting me having to shoot this monologue. I was just done. I was just like, I'm done with this whole thing. And then the Camaro, of course, just, added to it. So, you never know. Try it one more time, because you never know if a car's going to pass by and piss you off, and add to the aggression that you need. So go for it. Yeah, it was a gift.
I'm really proud of you guys. I hear a lot of things. I mean, this is year 13 that we've been doing that. It's a lot of monologue training and a lot of monologue performances and work. And I'll get feedback like, how come it seems like your actors are always the ones that are in? And it's like, the only difference is people go, oh, there's an acting contest, and they prepare for it like they prepare for an audition. It's like, oh, let me read my lines. Okay, I'm good. And then they go. Where we just force you to submerge in one character in one piece, hopefully, when you finally make the choice, and then, okay, now let's work this thing out, because it's not, at the end of the day, it's not about these pieces, and every one of these pieces is just fascinating to watch. And you guys go fire them up. What do we got? 15 minutes of viewing, and you're going to see 10 performances. Go for it. It's about what it's doing to you. Yeah, it's because the piece is the piece, and that's there. Okay, fine. But it's like, you now drilled in. You went deeper. You increased your capacity to be able to do this. All aspects that you guys are talking about just in this, these 45 minutes we've been talking. It's drilling. It's great. Let's go do another one. And then the next thing you know, you turn around, you got 25 monologues. Over a few years, you've got it's just, I got more. What do you need? It's there. And that's just a fascinating thing. So for you guys, just continue to just do the work. Don't sit around waiting. Do the work. And a monologue is, in my opinion, it's the least effort, least inconvenient, least expensive way to train. You don't have to work with scene partners. You're on your own schedule. You keep the thing folded up in your back pocket, your purse, or your wherever, and you're at a red light that's too long. You're working your piece. You're in an audition. You're working your piece. You're just waiting somewhere. You're working your piece. You're looking at different characters. There's one more thing I want to address, and then I'd like to hear just a little bit of input from you guys, because what I'm hearing and what I coach is what's inspiring you. You're seeing a TV show and you go, oh, I connect to that. You're watching a movie, you go, I want to do that. You hear lines and go, I want to say that. And then you go, let's go after it, right? Let's go after it. Why? Because it's connected to the artist that's inside us that gets us to go, yeah, not, I got to read this shit.
Yeah.
All right, well, yeah, pays $5,000. What the heck? Let's go. You know, and there's going to be that. Of course, there's always that. But this is where you really get to do work that's impassioned work. So I'd like to hear, if you haven't addressed it already, where were you like massively, massively impassioned about what it is that you did to be able to bring about the performance work that you just did? That just you went, I got to do that. It's got to happen.
Well, I guess like talking about being inspired, just going back to the compression that we were talking about and the idea of showing and being and how those are two very different things. And understanding that if I'm experiencing the moment, that what I want you to see, you know, it doesn't matter. You're going to take what you will from this. But point being, Killing Eve is an amazing show. And I happened to be watching it while we were talking about it, and just watching those two women work. And especially Coleman, I can't think of her first name, but the woman that plays the sociopath type, Olivia. Yes, just see all of doing so little, quote unquote, with so much coming through, and just sitting there and watching it and being like, that's what I want to do, to be so moving and so stirring and so loud in silence. That.
Come on.
And like you, it gets me when I think about it, you know?
Write that down.
So that was it for me, kind of.
For me, a lot of it comes from, like, I have training in theater. Like I can pick out the bad acting, and it's like hard for me to sit through it. You know, I'm training myself to sit through it, to be like, okay, why is this bad? Rather than just turning it off. So the things that really inspire me are the pieces where I forget that I'm watching something. Like I'm not thinking about the technicalities or the acting or the lighting or the, you know, oh, that wasn't honest. You know, those things, those are the shows that really pull me in. And so when for my piece, this audition material that I get, where it's like, oh, this is mine. This is my piece. Like I didn't have to try to do anything. It just was with me. It was in me already. It was just pulling it out. That's the coolest part. And like seeing stuff like Killing Eve, yeah, like the shows that you're just like, I can just literally sit here all day and watch this because I'm in someone's living room watching this happen. I'm not watching a show. I'm there. That to me is like the most powerful acting. That's the acting I want to do. She just like, you forget that you're acting, and you forget that you're watching acting. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Anybody want to jump on that? Okay, go ahead. Then George, we'll get you, and then we'll be landing the bird.
It's a hard question, but a very easy question at the same time, I feel like, because we're all artists, and when we see an artist on screen who gives his or her whole heart, who is impassioned about, who cares about the craft, you know, when I see that, like in Joker, for example, one example, I watched that movie 4 times because I was just watching how he moves, how he does things, how he smokes the cigarette. You know, it's all part of that. And I want to do stuff like that. I want every moment to be meaningful. And when I can watch something and get lost in what they're doing, that's an artist. You know, that's art. That's what we do. That's how we inspire people. That's what gets me going and all, you know. Whew, but I come from theater too, and it's very different to see a theater piece and just people reacting and people being on screen. And I want to, you know, go more towards that because I'm very like this, you know, like very, very bubbly and effervescent. But that moment when you're like, that's it. That's real in some way. That's what I want. That's what inspires me.
Gotta grab it, George.
I was inspired by early on. I used to like watching like Charlie Chaplin, and I would always gravitate towards the crooked line character.
Let's do this. Hold that thought for a second, because this is flowing into my last question, and I might as well just capitalize on it because it's such a big group here. So here, because you guys are both doing it right now. So here's the last question for everybody, in wrapping up this episode, this fantastic episode. This is awesome. I was like, I am just putting myself in a big mess. This is going to be a problem. And I'm like, I know this is not going to work. But it's working brilliantly. You guys are awesome. The question I have for you that I want to end on and want you all to address is you get your choice of answers, okay? And your choice of answers are what moment in film or television, in storytelling, really has impacted you, like you just shared that, Celine, with the Joker, or what character, what actor portraying a character really has just wrecked you for normal, man. I mean, you're just like, oh my gosh, this is just tearing me apart. I want you just to address that real quick, or you get to answer my ending question on the performance zone. So anybody that watches PZTV knows that I ask all my guests this question, and you guys can think about it, okay? And for those of you that social media, if you were allowed one post, one IG post, or Twitter, whatever your SM of choice is, one post and one picture only, and the entire world would see it, what would be the post and what picture would accompany it? So you get to think about that for a minute. So you get to pick how you want to end this episode. Okay, continue, George.
Okay, so I've always been attracted to the crooked line characters, not really drawn to the straight line. And it's just interesting to watch them and see.
You mean
what
the wavy line?
The wavy line, yeah.
And the straight line. And what George is making a reference to is in comedy, when you have what's called the straight man and the fall man or the funny man, and we just kind of call it straight line and wavy line. The straight line is the character who's holding the fort with the information. The wavy line character is more of the character, the comedic character that doesn't have as much information. So therefore, the funny gets played off of that, just to clarify that.
So that's always what I've paid attention to. You just never know what they're going to do next. And that keeps my attention. So now I like watching like Johnny Depp and Giovanni Ribisi and Robert Downey Jr. And they all play those kind of characters that I really pay attention to. But the one that really got my attention that just changed my life forever was Heath Ledger's Joker. That I always enjoyed watching Heath Ledger. He was very entertaining to watch. Usually played leading men. He plays the Joker and you don't even see Heath Ledger there. It's a whole nother character. So that's what changed it for me.
Was that you just didn't see him. You
Right.
saw a whole nother character.
Yeah.
I guess we should hand the mic to Lath and he should talk about Jack Nicholson and his Joker. No, no, I'm just.
That's a good joke.
And then by the time we're going to get to Frank Gorshin for you, and he was the guy who played it in TV, the 60s Batman show.
One of the characters that's inspired me the most and I use as an emotional trigger, Matthew McConaughey in Interstellar, the scene where he's watching all the videos that his kids have sent him while he's in space over the span of 20 years, and it's both showing the love that he has for the children while simultaneously going through the regret of not being there to help raise them, and just seeing him fall apart while he watches that. I use it as material to get me in the zone all the time. So that's kind of what I channel with my piece, and just really helps me.
Awesome. Yeah, that's great. Just to pass it around. Who wants to grab it? This is your closing goodbyes.
My all-time favorite movie is Wild Hearts Can't Be Broken with Gabrielle Anwar. This true story about this girl who's following her dreams and making it happen when everything is against her. Absolutely love that. But it's so inspiring, but what I want to do is sitcoms. I love making people laugh. I see pretty much every scene through the eyes of comedy first, which is why Jack really helped me work out that scene and see it in a different way. And it blew my mind. But yeah, just comedy, making people laugh.
Do you have any interest in hosting a fitness video with Hans? We might have something brewing here. There's your host, Hans.
I didn't want you to come to me because I'm having an issue of thinking of something, because it was not just one thing for me. I don't know where. I'm still trying to figure out where it all started, like why I'm even doing this, like why I can't do anything else. Like I've tried to do something else and I can't. There's so many moments going through my head of like that one scene in Grey's Anatomy, and then that other scene in Sex Education, and then the one time, with 10 Things I Hate About You, and that one Princess Bride, which I've seen a zillion times, and How to Get How's the Guy in 10 Days with Kate Hudson. Like there's just so many that I can't. I would like to be able to pick just one, but I'm just in love with acting and like exploring the human conscious and why people do what they do and why we make decisions we make, even though it destroys us a lot of the time. And just like, so that's my answer to your multitude of questions.
Brilliant answer.
Yeah.
Great. Well done.
So I guess I'll combine what I wanted to jump on with what inspired you, and then the last question. So with my actual monologue, not the one that won, but the other one, Unfinished. I intentionally wrote it with too many words to fit into 90 seconds. And I think you could probably say the same thing about yours, George. Like if you read yours, it takes longer than 90 seconds to read it. There's a lot of words there. And I intentionally did that because I had been inspired recently by the marvelous Miss Maisel. And oh my God, right? And watching an actor, many actors, they all do it, handle this like compact, loaded, neurotic dialogue that is just, it's too many words, and somehow they get through it in the hour-long episode. And I'm sure the scripts are much longer than normal hour-long episode scripts. And so I was like, I want to do that. I want to be able to actually hit the emotional beats and moments, because Miss Maisel, she's going through a divorce, she's going through so many emotional things, and speaking 100 miles a minute, and you feel all of it on every word, no matter how fast she's going. And I wanted to try and do that. And I remember I was sitting and recording the thing, and I fell into the actor trap of getting too into the emotion. And I had my friend with me, Leanne, who's not here, so I will speak for Leanne and give Leanne a credit in my own performance that made it into the top 10. So thank you, Leanne, because she was standing to the side and holding a board and, shoving light in my face. And from the back of the board, after one of my takes, I hear this, "Can we do a Maisel take?" And it hit me, and I remembered why I was doing this in the first place and what had originally inspired me. And this is why you need a director. This is why you need a coach. But she reminded me, she was like, "Maisel take." And I was like, shoot. I'm sorry. I almost I didn't. Yes. Thank you, Leanne. Like, yes, that's what I want to do. And so that ended up being the last take, and the take that was used. And so that the things that inspire me are not just well acted. I find that they are very well written, because you don't have that show without the writer of that show. And so for me, it's stuff like that. It's Sorry for Your Loss, which another actor in the show used a monologue from that show. It's a great show. It's Tarantino. It's these people that know the language and know story, and then the actors just get the lucky job of bringing them to life. And so that's what inspires me.
Awesome.
For me, it's Hans, you think comedy, but it's the Comedy Gangs of New York, which is actually Daniel Day-Lewis has been an inspiration for me. Just you see him off screen, and then you see him on screen. He's just this quiet, gentle soul, and then he becomes these monsters that just these complex characters. And the scene where Leonardo's betrayed him and he's got him on the table, and you're just seeing the emotion and the humanity and everything mixed with it. And so that has been an inspiration for me. And then recently watching The Joker, I think that acting costs you. When you come into a performance, it should take something. And I know that took a lot out of him. And he left everything out there. And so for me, that's just an inspiration, just to fully commit to that level. You know, if I could get to, you know, even a fraction of that level and be lost within that, then, you know, that's doing your job as an actor. So those kind of combined pieces.
Yeah, really, it's great.
Okay. Poof. See, so this is tricky. I've just always loved every part of entertainment, theater, movies, film. It was my escape from a crazy childhood, and it's like all I ever watched. And so probably the standout of my childhood, and I reenacted this movie on the regular, was Mommy Dearest.
Oh my God.
With Faye Dunaway. It's my favorite movie growing up as a kid. I used to reenact that with my older sister all the time. But also I really loved Julia Roberts, like growing up. There was just something about watching a woman just so like free and unapologetic, and I'm loud and I have a big laugh, and so does she, and she doesn't care, and she can give it and she could take it, and she could break your heart and she could make you laugh, and like that was it. That's what I want to do. I want to break your heart and I want to make you laugh. That's all I want.
I think you did break a few hearts in your performance.
Yeah, I was joking with someone, you're going to be wrecked after, and she was like, I was wrecked. I was like, thank
Let's
you.
go back to Brooke and we'll finish with Lori. I think that would have gotten all of you guys. Yeah. Okay.
Like Ali was saying, I am inspired by so many little small moments. I feel like instead of taking the whole of the media that I intake, I'll take little pieces that just stay with me forever, like John Krasinski's scream in A Quiet Place. Broke me, shattered me. Speaking of shattering me, oh God, the one that just happened with Lady Gaga and
Yes.
Oh my God.
Yes.
Star is Born.
Thank you. Star is Born. Broken Forever. All right, then there's those moments like A Wedding Planner with Jennifer Lopez and Matthew McConaughey when she's like drunk and he looks at her and he says like, you are never a poor man's whatever the other character's name is. Those little moments just they stay in my heart forever, and I want to give those little moments back to someone else. I want to make them feel and think and maybe be a little bit of a better person after they experienced feeling. That's what I love about this.
Great.
Yeah.
Take it, Celine.
I have just one little thing. Hugh Jackman has been a huge inspiration for me for years. Like I remember in high school, I watched Les Mis for the first time in English on the big screen. I sobbed like a baby. And I will never forget this one scene where he realizes, you know, that, oh, my daughter is in love and here is basically my son I have to take care of, even if it's the death of me. And I feel like we need more people like that, more down to earth, loving, all about, you know, giving people like that, actors like that, because actors can be very selfish at times. And that moment always will remind me, you know, give.
Great. It's great. Thank you.
Well, speaking about actors being selfish, Robin Williams is the guy that brought laughter into my life as a kid. I grew up crazy household, so it's again we look for that comedic relief. And between Robin Williams and Jim Carrey in my house, those were the go-tos, and my mom wouldn't even understand what was being said, but based on how much we laughed and how we reacted, she knew it was like let it play. They're having fun. And Mrs. Doubtfire is always the movie that I go back to because my father wasn't around, so I always imagine if he were to come through as a nanny or something, and just I don't know, and just so that always touched my heart, and I wanted to be able to do that someday when I grew up. And it wasn't until I knew I wanted to entertain, so I danced. That was my first love. But then acting came later on when I watched Kerry Washington, and I was like, wait, she's from the Bronx. She's like me. And she's up there in Scandal upholding authority. Like, and that inspired me. And I was like, wait, she can do it, so can I. And that's I feed off of that energy and seeing, you know, what can be done and what can be created. And I love the film industry just because of the stories that we're handed, and we pamper that, and then we hand it off, and then people watch it at home or wherever, from the bathroom, the airplane, wherever they're at, and they connect to the real the story and all that. So I'm grateful for all of what we do and the reason why we were put on this planet to oh, I'm choked up. Done.
She's having a moment. She's having a PZTV closing moment.
Yes.
Come on, you guys were terrific. This was really great.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate each and every one of you, all of your talent. This is one hell of a master class right here. If I just figure out how to keep you all together at one time, we could rip it up. So thanks so much for being here. We're closing up. We're running out of time, so we're going to end this episode of PZTV. I want to thank you guys from wherever you're watching. Again, it's brought to you by claybankstudio.com. So go there, check it out. There's all kind of online resources for you. Come on down to the studio, see what we're doing out here, so we can help train you to work in film and television with quality and do some really good work for people to really entertain themselves and have this moment. But I want to do something I haven't done before. Because I do ask this question, I want you to think about this. If you had one post only, the last post, and one picture only, and the entire world would see it, what would you say? We're out for now. See you on the next one.